Right now at 6, President Trump's new target, mail-in voting.
We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots.
Plus, Portland's brand new fire chief outlines her priorities on day one and talks about why she made the move.
My first thought was, I want to work there.
And later, a first of its kind in Washington, and the hype is already real.
If I knew that it was going to be this close an opening, I'd be wearing an In-N-Out shirt today.
When In-N-Out is set to open its doors, as some locals worry about the potential for gridlock.
I do not need to come wait in line for hours and hours.
We're going to work with Ukraine, we're going to work with everybody, and we're going to make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long-term.
First this evening, call it a potential path toward peace as President Trump met at the White House today with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, along with a lineup of European leaders. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. This comes just days after the president's summit in Alaska ended without a peace deal or a ceasefire. Today's meeting, the next step in the push to end the 3.5-year-long war. Tonight, President Trump saying security guarantees and support are on the table, but Ukraine may have to make tough concessions. Ukraine, for its part, wants to prevent another Russian invasion and says it does not want to give up territory. The next potential step, according to President Trump, a meeting that includes him and the Ukrainian and Russian leaders. Well, during that meeting today, a reporter asked the president not about Ukraine, but about a post he made this morning on Truth Social calling for an end to mail-in voting. Libby Dowsett's live outside the Multnomah County Elections Office in Southeast Portland. Libby, we should note elections, including those in Washington and Oregon, are run by states and counties, not the federal government. What'd you learn?
That's right, David. And a lot of Oregonians and Washingtonians take great pride in our vote-by-mail system. So to have the president telling people it's all a fraud got people talking.
To end mail-in voting, it's a fraud.
President Trump speaking out Monday, saying his administration is setting its sights on eliminating vote by mail, a system championed by a majority of Oregon voters and local elections leaders.
We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots.
The president saying vote by mail is more expensive and nets slower results compared to paper ballots.
You know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them.
Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed immediately firing back, saying all those statements are false.
He's wrong. Voting by mail in Oregon, which is, by the way, done with paper ballots, is less expensive than votes that require someone to show up at a specific place at a specific time.
Reed says the president is crossing the line when it comes to our Constitution.
We follow the Constitution in Oregon, which says clearly that states run elections, not the federal government.
Portland State University research assistant professor Paul Manson with the PSU Center for Public Service agrees.
We are unique as democracies go in the world, that we really place all of the administration and effort for elections at the local level. States oversee it, but for example, here in Oregon, counties administers elections. So we've always in the U.S. allowed those local governments to do that.
He said both Republican and Democratic leaders have built their re-election campaigns on the assumption of vote by mail.
So to take that away would sort of shake the snow globe for those incumbents who are thinking about the midterms coming up.
A local leader of the National Vote at Home Institute says anyone who's voted in Oregon should know the system is secure.
There's no such thing as making copies of ballots and submitting them, because every ballot is tied with that barcode to one individual voter.
Barbara Smith Warner says people can track their ballots from delivery to the collection box, and some form of vote by mail is used in dozens of countries and every state.
Voting is the foundational element of our democracy. It is what makes everything work. If it weren't so important, people wouldn't try so hard to make you not do it.
And leaders in Washington are also commenting. U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell in Edmonds saying in a statement, quote, "We can't be for suppressing the vote. Vote by mail is the consistently most safe and trackable method of voting." David,
Now
back
we'll
to you.
see if the White House does anything on this next. Thanks, Libby. Meanwhile, Senator Ron Wyden visited Crater Lake over the weekend. Take a look at the impact of federal funding cuts under the Trump administration. Earlier this year, thousands of Park Service jobs were eliminated nationwide. Wyden says he's working on strategies to support the park staff and to keep the visitor experience strong.
We're not just going to sit idly by while there is this jewel heist, because what I believe it's doing is weakening the commitment, the national commitment to Crater Lake and to all of our national parks.
Crater Lake is now led by an interim superintendent after its former superintendent, Kevin Heatley, resigned just 5 months into the job. The park says it is balancing staff shortages with a growing number of visitors, all while searching for a permanent replacement. Well, now at 6, Portland Fire and Rescue officially has a new chief. She is Chief Lauren Johnson. She's going to oversee more than 700 people in Oregon's largest fire department. Devin Haskins is here. Devin, you talked with the new chief moments after she was sworn in. What'd you learn?
Well, she is a career firefighter from the Dallas, Texas area. She is focused on building trust with the firefighters there and using her 20-plus years of service.
I, Lauren Johnson,
a new fire chief,
do solemnly affirm,
takes command of the 172-year-old Portland Fire and Rescue as its 41st leader.
So today is a day of immense pride and gratitude as I stand before you, accepting this position and tremendous responsibility that comes with it.
Johnson comes from Dallas, Texas, where she started her career as a firefighter, rising up through the ranks, most recently serving as an assistant chief, with the goal of moving to a top job in these last couple years.
But I'll tell you, the thing that hooked me for Portland was one of their current chiefs made a post on LinkedIn that said they were looking for a fire chief, and they've got great people. And my first thought was, I want to work there.
She'll manage a $181 million budget and oversee more than 740 firefighters. She calls herself an outsider, but hopes to earn their trust. Isaac McLennan is the president of the Portland Firefighters Association and says he's looking forward to working with her.
There's obviously a lot of unknowns about her because she comes from a different department, but what we do know already is that she's a career firefighter.
He says what she values is what's important to him and the firefighters, not where she's from.
So whether she might be an outsider, the reality is I don't think people in our department are going to view her that way. She might think of herself that way, but I think a lot of people are going to address her and talk to her like they feel like they've known her whole career.
Johnson says earning that trust is among the first difficult things of the new job.
Getting to take the time to learn about the department, learn about the things that they need and that are important to them, but I've got the motivation to do it.
Her hiring is a little bit of a rarity for Portland. She is only the Bureau's third fire chief that hasn't been a Portland firefighter before. She also talked about making the Bureau a model for other fire departments. David?
Well, welcome to Chief Johnson. Thanks, Devin. In your headlines this evening, a grand jury has indicted a man on new charges in connection with a kidnapping in Salem. 48-year-old Elijah Galaviz Arce went before a judge today, where he's now facing an additional kidnapping charge along with attempted rape. Investigators say he lured an 11-year-old girl from the front yard of her home earlier this month. Authorities found the pair less than a quarter-mile away. The victim's father telling us at the time she has autism, and the suspect was seen stroking her arm and had kissed her on the cheek. Arce is being held without bail. He's scheduled to be back in court next week. After nearly 2 years of negotiations, hundreds of nurses at Legacy Mount Hood Medical Center have voted to authorize a strike. The nurses say the hospital has not made meaningful investments, their words, in recruiting and retaining frontline caregivers, while Legacy says it remains hopeful an agreement can be reached, and it continues to engage in good faith bargaining. A mediation session is scheduled for Friday. No strike date has been set. And the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife is warning people to avoid harvesting or eating soft shell and bay clams from the Alsea Bay estuary. The advisory comes after officials say Lincoln County's Ekman Lake tested high for a type of toxin that causes paralytic shellfish poisoning. The lake, by the way, drains directly into the bay. Agriculture officials will now test clams from the estuary with results expected sometime next week. Joe?
David, the last couple of days have been feeling a little bit on the cooler side, and some of you might be already getting ready for fall. Well, hold that thought, because we're going to be seeing a bit of a warm up. Right now, temperature of 76 degrees from our Chehalem tasting room over in Sherwood in wine country. We have this upper level low that's going to kind of bring in a little bit of some increasing clouds overnight, but behind it is a ridge of high pressure that's going to start to develop over the next couple of days. So overnight, partly cloudy skies, mild temperatures for lows, and that's what we're going to be seeing here over the next couple of nights. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, getting warmer with temperatures in the low 80s. By the later part of this week, we could be looking at our second heat wave of the summer with a 4-day stretch with temperatures 90 or above. I'm not talking 92, 93. Some models are showing that we could get closer to the mid 90s, maybe a little bit warmer by Friday and into Saturday. And as we look at the day planner for tomorrow, we're going to be looking at temperatures kind of comfortable out of the gate. By 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, temperatures in the mid to the upper 50s. By late morning, 74 degrees. Daytime high tomorrow of 82 degrees. You'll notice that fall feeling in the air with that sunset just after 8 o'clock tomorrow night. As we go into futurecast, again, a little bit of some cloud cover along the Oregon coast tomorrow. If you're making your plans for a beach day, make sure you travel south. That's where more of the sunshine will be. I'll talk more about that heat wave that's on the way coming up in just a few minutes.
Hey, good recommendation. It's still August, by the way. Thanks, Joe.
Don't be a dumb girl. That's what I was repeatedly told by my dad, my brothers, and even my mom.
Well, that is Heidi Human, local gun violence prevention advocate, documentary filmmaker, and author on her new memoir, Dumb Girl, A Journey from Childhood Abuse to Gun Control Advocacy. Human is a survivor of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse growing up in her family of origin, and now, for the first time, she's choosing to write and talk about it.
I think it's important to talk about it because that's what breaks the shame, and that's what breaks the cycle. When we live in shame, then we can't prosper and we can't thrive. And so we've got to talk about it.
Look for coverage of Heidi's story here on KGW in early September under our Talk About It franchise. But before that, I hope to see you tomorrow at PALS. That's because I'll be moderating an in-person conversation with Heidi Human at her book launch. It is Tuesday again tomorrow at 7 p.m. at PALS West Burnside location. I would love to see you there.